Good morning. This is Mr. Jimenez. I'm coming to you from home again, showing you this lesson. Today we will be talking about animal adaptations. In particular, we're going to talk about feet and other body parts and how they adapt to better fit an organism's environment. So today's objective is that you will be able to explain how animal feet and body parts help an organism survive in their environment. And so to begin, we're going to review a little bit from last week. I want you to look at these pictures and I want you to think to yourself, what are some of the adaptations that these animals have developed to better survive in their environment? If we go down each picture, you will see first we have a camel. Now, camels, one way they have adapted is that because their environment has changed, meaning because their environment has become more dry, there is not very many resources. They have developed humps on their back, like you can see here, that help them store energy to better survive in their environment. Same for penguins. Penguins have adapted or have changed because a lot of their food is now found in the ocean. So because their environment changed, their bodies changed. So their wings turned into fins, similar, not fins, but they look like fins to help them better swim. And finally, here we have an insect that has changed it to camouflage and to better survive from predators. So it looks now like a leaf, even though it's not really a leaf. So let's talk about feet. So animals have special foot structures. Remember, structures are a body part that help them survive in their environments. So I want you to look at the feet right here, and I want you to look how might these feet help an animal swim. If you notice, the fingers are webbed and they resemble something like a flipper, right? If you've ever been swimming, you can see that those little shoes that you put on that have wide web feet are very much like a duck's feet, and so they help you swim faster. Okay, the next structure, or the structure we're going to start talking about is web feet. And so, like I said, their function or how they're used is that they help organisms paddle through water easily. Okay, so they help them swim faster and escape predators faster. Make sure you write this down in your notes. Moving on. The next structure we're talking about are hooves. Now, hooves can be found on all sorts of animals. You can find them on horses, on camels, on cows, you name it. These animals all have hooves. Now, they're different because they serve different purposes, but in general, they help protect an animal's foot and help them run faster. So, for example, a horse's hooves are going to be different from a camel's hooves because horses travel on rockier surfaces. So because their environment is rockier, their hooves are almost a little stronger, whereas a camel has hooves that are a little more able to handle heat rather than rocky surfaces because they travel a lot in sand, so their feet don't need to be very, very strong, but they do need to be uh, protective of heat because they don't want to burn their feet. Okay, now we've talked about this before in class, but I'm going to go through it a little bit more. Um, Here on the side, you have a picture of a horse's hoof, and I want you to know that horses had four toes and a small hoof at the end of each toe, meaning their ancestors. The first horse had four toes. It looked very much like a dog's toe or a dog's foot. Um, why did it have these foot? Well, because it could walk on soft soil, and so it didn't need a lot of protection. But as the time progressed, the horse's environment became drier. Maybe there was a drought. Maybe there wasn't any rain. Maybe it traveled to a drier environment. In general, what happened is the longest toe became the dominant toe, meaning it became the most important one, the main toe. And the hoof became more prominent to help it run on the hard ground. Okay, so the drier the soil got, the more strong the horse's toes became. And so as a result, here we have what a hoof actually looks like if you were to look at the bone. So the horses are able to have hoofs like these up here to help them run on those really soft and hard surfaces. I'm sorry, not soft surfaces, hard surfaces. Okay, the next structure we're going to talk about are talons. You find talons on a lot of birds, okay? And why do organisms or these organisms have talons? Well, because they need to be able to tear apart meat and tear apart basically anything they catch. They're almost like knives. Think back to how carnivores have really, really sharp teeth. These birds don't have teeth, but they do have talons, which are very, very sharp. So they're basically super, super long nails. Like if you've ever seen your mom or your auntie go and get nails done at the salon and they get super, super pointy ones, they're kind of like this, except they're not fake, they're real. They grow like that. All right. So I want you to look at this picture and I want you to think to yourself, which adaptation helps this animal survive? Meaning, what does this foot structure help the animal do? I'm going to give you some time and I'm going to tell you the answer after. Think to yourself. If you answered number one, then you are correct. They are used for tearing apart meat. Think of these sharp, sharp talons, almost like knives. Again, read the question to yourself, answer it, and I'll give you the answer in a minute. If you answered three, swimming, then you are correct. This foot is better adapted for swimming because the webbed toes help move water faster. Okay? And so some other adaptations that we'll talk about that are essential for organisms to survive are things like tails, hollow bones. Hollow means that they're empty. Gills, not like misgill, the gills that you use that fish have, and then blubber. So we're going to go through each one. The first structure is a tail. Now, tails have several functions. Okay, in horses, for example, and elephants and other animals like that, they actually use their tails to almost like brush away insects because they might be bothering them. However, in a kangaroo, I almost called it a camel. Sorry about that. In a kangaroo, you might see that they have very, very long tails. They're almost like a third leg, right? And basically, this tail acts like a third leg because what it does is it helps it balance and help it not fall, basically. All right. It's also used to uh, fight away other predators, also. And then in the case of monkeys, they're actually used to swing from branches. It's almost like an arm versus a leg, right? Because they can grab things with it, they can hold on, and they can stay a little more secure when they have that tail. Next are hollow bones. Now, this is a very interesting one because humans have hollow bones, right? You and I, we have bones that are very that are empty on the inside, basically, right? But if you compare them to, let's say, an eagle's bones, the eagle has super hollow bones. Look at how much empty space are in the human bone, and look at how much space is in the eagle bones. Why do eagles and other birds need very lightweight bones? Think to yourself. What do eagles and other birds do that humans cannot? They fly, right? They do fly. And so, because of that, if you fly, you probably want to be light. You don't want to be heavy. And so, the lighter you are, the more easily you're going to be able to fly. And so, as a result, a lot of bones have hollow bone. A lot of birds, I'm sorry, have hollow bones so that they can fly easier. It makes it easier to fly because they don't weigh as much. Okay. Then we have gills. Now, gills are very similar to your and my noses. Okay. Now, they're not nose because this organism breathes underwater. Okay, water's actually made out of hydrogen and oxygen. Now, there's oxygen in water. That's why it's called H2O. The O stands for oxygen. And so what happens is these fish and other marine animals are able to almost like drink water through their gills. They don't actually drink it, right? But they take it into their gills. They separate the oxygen from the hydrogen. They let the hydrogen go, and they're able to almost like breathe oxygen, okay? But through these gills. So they're a very, very cool structure, is the word I was looking for. And finally, we have a last structure, which is blubber. And blubber is just a fancy word for a special kind of fat. Okay, a lot of animals that live in very, very cold places have blubber. Now, why do they have blubber? Well, because blubber helps organisms insulate heat with a layer of fat. Okay, it helps them keep in the heat and keep out the cold so that they don't freeze to death in these really, really extreme temperatures. So polar bears have them, Walruses, seals, whales, all sorts of animals have blubber. All right. So this is all I have for you today. Go ahead and get started on your practice, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.